What's up, you guys? This is Crystal Denitra, and we are back with another video. Thank you again for joining Truth TV Podcast. Today, we're going to talk about why the narcissist chooses the empath. I think it's important to understand why narcissistic people choose their victims, so to speak, or choose the people that they will abuse. It's important to understand it because oftentimes, we think that it's something that is just kind of meant to happen, but it's really not. They really have a strategic plan and picking the person that they can pick on, so to speak. So, guys, I always like to start off with definitions. We already know that a narcissistic person or a narcissist is a person who's always about themselves. They have a lot of self-love. They want all the people around them to shower them with love, shower them with gifts, tell them that they're such a wonderful person. But we know that they really don't have any souls. They don't have any sympathy or empathy for other people. It's all about them. So what is an empath? An empath is a person that's attuned to other people's emotions and who are sensitive to others' feelings. They tend to put their needs or other people's needs before their own, without having any hidden agendas. Empathic people are very sensitive people. They can feel the energy of the room. They can feel people. And we're always like these healer types. We want to save and heal everybody. But with the narcissist, we know we can't save that person. I was raised by a narcissist. My caretaker, who was my mom, of course, I couldn't choose to be in that relationship. That was just a relationship that I was brought into by birth. But I'm learning now I can choose what relationship I have with her now. I can control the narrative. I can control my peace. Some days I don't answer the phone when she's calling, because I know something is always going to be said that's going to strike a nerve or strike a chord. So I just don't want to, I just choose not to go back down that road. She knows that I'm a very sensitive person. And most parents, they understand their children. They know the children that's very sensitive. They know the one that really cares a lot and helps other people with, like I said, no hidden agendas. So I'm just protecting my peace by just going no contact. And I feel that that's the best way to handle a narcissist, because the minute you start accepting phone calls and texts and things like that, they feel like they have you, and you don't want to give them all the power. I know that my peace is very important these days. I'm choosing peace over everything, and that's just what we have to do. Now, as far as my narcissistic ex, I think the main thing that brought us together was our childhood trauma. I'll just share a little bit. He didn't really have a relationship with his mom growing up. His mom kind of just gave him over to his grandmother, which was her mother, at a very young age. So I know that, that caused a lot of mental damage inside of him. He was trying to figure out, why doesn't mommy love me and this and that. So I think when choosing a spouse or choosing someone in a relationship, he was kind of looking for that motherly figure. And we shared the same childhood trauma. So, his father wasn't there. His father wasn't around. My father went to prison 10 years ago. So it was just a lot of similarities that kept us together. But I do know empaths crave true love and attention. So I was leaving one narcissistic situation, not knowing that I was getting into another one. And the narcissists, they always try to hook up with each other. I know my mom, like her most favorite person in the world seems like my ex. I always did the wrong. Anytime he would wrongdo me, whether it was verbal or physical abuse, if I would share it with her, it was almost like she was pointing the finger at me. I just felt like in those situations, was I ever right? They always teamed up together. Like I said, my ex, he didn't have good relationships with his family growing up. So I think that trauma bond that we shared, that's what brought us together. But I didn't know that I was feeding his ego. I didn't know that I was feeding that motherly figure that wasn't there. So that's the mistake that I made, thinking I could fix a person. Like I said, empaths and people who really have good hearts, we always feel like we can fix a person or we can save them, but we can't do that. We have to let God and therapy do that. You know what I'm saying? Because if we're fixing this person for years, what are we doing for ourselves? I just feel like, everybody has to be held accountable for, their own actions and the things that they allow. So now that I'm doing the research on narcissism, and I'm understanding how these things work, I feel like I would never be able to save these people. Like, for instance, my caretaker, she even says to this day, we had a conversation about a month ago. Oh, I'm going to go to therapy. I'm going to go to therapy. They're never going to go to therapy. They always want the person that they're abusing to be in therapy because they don't want to seem like anything is wrong with them. Everything is always everybody else's fault. It doesn't matter if it's plain and black and white. They're just going to blame the person that they're abusing. So we just have to be careful in not allowing them to get in our mind and make us think that they're going to change, because they're not. Like I said, we can't fix anybody. The narc always takes advantage of empaths because we're compassionate people. They look at our compassion as a weakness. For instance, I'm not really keen on death, and my caretaker knows that. So if anytime somebody dies in our family, like an elderly person, she's the first one to call me because she wants me to come around that. For example, when my father died back in 2019, that was the most horrible time of my life. I felt like I was going to die inside because the person that I truly, really loved is no longer here. And I just kind of saw how our family, got divided. And I saw how she basically sicked people on me. Like, my phone was ringing off the hook from people that I hadn't talked to in years, or people that I just don't communicate with. But she kept all of this stuff going to keep me in a confused state. And I had to really just block people. I had to stop answering phone calls. I had to stop answering texts, because I knew this was just her tactic of trying to get me around. I really stopped coming around years ago, for certain family functions or things that she would invite me to. I just stopped coming around because after I left, I was always drained. It was always some type of mental or verbal abuse, talking about my appearance, or talking about this or talking about that. So I just had to learn how to kind of shut that out. Narcs always drown out your emotions. They try to spin they just try to spin it back on you. They try to make it feel like you shouldn't feel the way that you feel. All the attention should be on me, so to speak. So if you have any emotion or, show any type of weakness, then that's when they're going to be all over the situation. They need their ego stroked all the time. They keep you kind of in this cycle of emotional or physical abuse where you're wanting to be around them or wanting to talk to them because you're used to that trauma. But we really have to stop allowing people to put us in that bad cycle. Like I talked about in my other videos about reactive abuse. Reactive abuse is when a narc does something and they know it's going to get under your skin. So they use that tactic just to get a response out of you, basically just to point the finger back on you. And we just have to not fall into that trap. Let's see what else we have. I'm just reading my notes because I write down a lot of stuff. Empath always take the blame from narcs. Because we make their reality our reality. It's almost as if we have to step in the position of becoming a narc. And I felt like some years ago, I thought that I was a narc because I was just so angry. Every time I went to school or every time I went to work, I just had this angry aura. And it was because I was being fed anger all the time. So I felt like that's the way I needed to be. But once I realized I was hurting people, that could have been a blessing in my life, I had to kind of check myself and go back and say, wait a minute, I can't become the person that I came from. I don't want to become this nasty person that nobody wants to be around. But narcissists, they always criticize everything an empath does. They criticize the way you look. They criticize the way you think. They even will criticize things that are bad that happens in the empath's life. For instance, I have been abused in a, let's just say, because I don't want to say the word, a sex way, by several different people. And I remember just every time I would tell my narc caretaker that, it was almost as if she didn't believe me. Like it was something that I had to have done to bring this on myself. And I just never thought that, I would never not have that motherly support. Anytime things were going on in my previous marriage, it was always like, well, what did you do? You had to have done something to bring this on. And even when I got divorced, like, she would have meetings with my ex-family, you know what I'm saying? And of course, I know I was probably the topic of discussion, but just having meetings and stuff with them, and I'm not even a part of the family anymore. So my thing is, why are we having meetings with people and I'm not even dealing with these people anymore? But all of that stuff was just done kind of to get under my skin, because they feel entitled. They feel entitled to knowing what's going on in your life. They feel entitled to pretty much just everything about your life, but they really don't have any entitlement. So that's why I had to learn how to just cut certain things off. These people really don't want to be fixed. Narcissistic people don't want to be fixed at all. They love the drama. They love the mental abuse. They love the verbal abuse, and they love the physical abuse. I know for my caretaker, anytime something bad happens to me, it's like, it's a good thing in her eyes, and then that's just an opportunity for her to take and say, well, you should have did this, or you should have done this. It's never, I'm going to be on your side. It's always, I'm going to be on the opposing side. Narcissistic people can't take criticism at all. It's like they get full of rage when you suggest that they have an issue or something that they need to fix or change. They don't like criticism, because at that point they feel like, you found them out. They're master manipulators. They always say, oh, I'm going to get therapy, or, I've had even, oh, I'm going to self-harm myself. But, like I said, they're never going to go to therapy. They're never going to get fixed for anything. And they choose us because we're such, what's the word I'm looking for? We're just such a caring person. You know what I'm saying? They feed off of our caring nature. They know that their ego is going to be stroked. They know that their mentality is going to be stroked. They know that we're going to tell them they're the best thing since sliced bread, but we really have to stop doing that. So I feel like what empaths need to do is just set clear boundaries. Tell these people exactly what you want. Tell them exactly what they're going to get out of the relationship. The other thing is, just remember that they won't reciprocate anything. They're never going to be held accountable for anything that they do. Everything's just going to go over their head. They're just going to make it seem like you're such this crazy person. And the other thing too is, don't give second chances. I've given so many second chances to my caretaker. I've given so many second chances to my ex and just other narcs that I've dealt with. But I'm learning that second chances cannot be given, because it's just going to be a constant repeated cycle. Empaths, they want to give second chances, but it's really not good for our mental, because we're going to find ourselves in a cycle that we don't want to be on. So these are just a couple tips that I wanted to share today. If you guys have any questions about anything, you can definitely email us. I'm going to put the email down at the bottom at Truth TV Podcast. If there's any specific topics you guys want to talk about, please email me and let me know. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and comment to all the videos. And until next time, we will see you guys later. Peace.